The death of Philando Castile and ensuing protests brought Minnesota's continuing struggles with racial equity front and center. Joining me in the studio to provide both a law enforcement and legislative point of view is former Douglas County Sheriff and State Senator Bill Ingebrigtsen. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Good to be here.
Following the shooting of Philando Castile, Governor Dayton said that Mr. Castile would not have been shot had he been white. You were very critical of this statement, going so far as to suggest a resolution to denounce the governor's comments if there had been a special session. Why?
Well, I did. As you did the introduction, I was a former sheriff of Douglas County, totally for about 34 years, 16 as the last, my 16 of my last years as elected sheriff. I actually grew up in a law enforcement family. My father was a sheriff when I was growing up as an adolescent child. So law enforcement has been my family all through and through. In fact, I think you'll even hear me refer to we when I'm on the Senate floor when we're talking about law enforcement issues. So it's near and dear to me for several reasons. Number one is because I grew up in it. Number two is that I understand law enforcement. I understand the complications that they run into occasionally. Having done that myself on different occasions over the 34-year period, and knowing that those split-second decisions that they have to make, sometimes tragedy occurs like this one, where a young man was, unfortunately, his life was taken. And for the governor, the lead elected official in our state, to basically tell over 10,000 law enforcement officers that if there were just white people in that car, that would not have happened, was completely out of line. That comment came before, and I'm sorry to say it, before the blood was dry or the gun smoke had even cleared the air. He's assuming that that would not have happened without an investigation. And investigations are the way to determine whether people are right or wrong in this country, always have been, and he was completely out of line. I could not sit back and watch that. And especially in light of the fact that the media actually gave Governor Dayton a chance the next day to retract his statement. He would not. I just simply couldn't move forward without making some comments about that, because public safety is so near and dear to me, and should be to everybody in the state of Minnesota.
Critics have raised concerns about the militarization of the police force, saying that certain educational programs that police go to are creating a sense of paranoia among the police force. The officer who shot Mr. Castile had recently attended a Bulletproof warrior session training course. What are your thoughts on these courses? Do you think they're appropriate?
I think this is the time that we're in. Of course, with the deaths in the sniping incidents in Dallas that happened, those were with rifles. Now, there's a distinct difference between being shot at, unfortunately, being shot at all is bad, but being shot at with a rifle versus a handgun or a shotgun is a whole different world. It's a whole different type of assault. The armament that they have, the body armor, the vests that are now worn by officers simply don't work for rifles.
Okay.
So what's happening now is the escalation of officers being assaulted. They have to start looking forward. I mean, they do. And I know there's been talk about, you know, a police state when you see these armored vehicles being used to go up to a hostile situation, and I look at it as, boy, we finally got the tools to actually address this kind of stuff. Here I go again, talking about law enforcement. We want the situation. Law enforcement wants the situation to be resolved as safely as they can, not only for the person that's got the gun that's behind the barricade or behind the door, or have somebody hostage, but also themselves. They also want to be able to go home to their families at night.
But do you think it's appropriate to refer to officers as warriors or peace officers? I
don't know. You know, we refer to our heroes as warriors, firemen. I guess I don't know that they're warriors by say. They are public servants that really care about their communities. Whether it's appropriate or inappropriate, I guess I wouldn't want to be called a warrior. But if I was on the battlefield fighting for this country, I guess I would be called a warrior. Law enforcement, being a civilian type of situation, is a little bit different. So the term warrior probably wouldn't fit quite right. But terminologies really don't mean a whole lot to me.
It was reported that Mr. Castile informed the officer who stopped him that he had a permit to carry and he had a gun. With your sheriff's cap on, is this the right thing for people who have a permit to carry to do, to immediately disclose that they have a weapon in their car?
If that's the case, and again, I'm very cautious to comment on this case because I don't know any more than, frankly, what the governor knows or the public knows about whether he in fact did say that. Now we're living off of a tape that was actually produced by his, I think his fiancée or girlfriend. What was astounding to me is that it didn't start until after the shooting occurred.
Right.
So again, I'm not saying one way or the other whether there's anybody innocent here or whether that officer responded inappropriately. That's for the BCA to determine, as well as I think the county attorney from Ramsey County. So I'm not sure about that.
But just in general, do you think, I mean, if you, as a law enforcement person, would you recommend that you you should disclose?
Absolutely.
Yes, I have a weapon, I have a permit.
I would, because I think a lot of your handgun carry people, number one, don't always have a handgun with them. They just have the permit to say that they have it, and they can do that anytime they want to. Most generally, you're going to find that gun is going to be under the seat, or you're going to find it in the glove box. And if I was approached by an officer at night or day, I would be more than open to say, I have a gun in the glove box, where my wallet happens to be. How would you like me to proceed from here? How would you like me to go after that? In fact, I would invite you, officer, to go in there and get my license to make sure that you're safe and feel safe because the gun is there. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That would be a real positive way to approach it.
In your opinion, are body cameras a good tool for law enforcement and for the public?
Law enforcement, it seems as though, is being very open to body cameras. They're saying, sure, why not? The problem that I have with body cameras is they're a piece of machinery that can go bad. They can be turned on and off. Hypothetically, if something dangerous were to happen and that wasn't on, for some reason it malfunctioned, automatically it seems to me the officer is going to be on trial at that point. So as far as community policing, I think it has its place. They've been around for a while, dash cameras and whatnot, but frankly, I think they're going to be a hindrance. I think the officers, the problem with body cameras is they may be forced to do things that they normally wouldn't do that could turn them into a real dangerous situation. It's really unfortunate. But they're there, and officers chiefs of police and sheriffs are open to it. So far, we've locally just allowed them to make their own decision. We haven't done anything statewide, other than with data.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for the opportunity.